Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 39. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jay, what's going on?
Hey, Neeks, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back, buddy.
Sir JT.
That's
Yeah,
right, man.
your stats back in the house here. Welcome back, everybody. For anybody, this is first time tuning in. This is the Game of Thrones kind of like rewatch review show. For JT, it's actually his first time watching this show, but this is kind of like our
You're telling everybody this, eh? No? Make
listen.
fun of me. Hey, listen, just
No,
because this show's got me fucking hooked.
for context, I think it's important, right? So, you also don't want anybody to spoil anything for you out there who may potentially watch the show. So, uh,
Google?
but yeah, no, this is kind of like a review show here where we're watching Game of Thrones episode by episode, kind of doing like an overview review of the episode, kind of, having a conversation about what occurred in each one, giving you our thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always a good time. This is actually my first time rewatching the show. I've never rewatched it since the first time it was on the air. This is Jay's first time, as I mentioned, watching this show. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And for a little peek behind the curtain for context, we're actually going to be talking about an episode here today out of sequence, essentially, of what we've actually recorded. Because normally we obviously do them in order. We usually try to record a couple at a time. But we actually had a guest on for the previous episode, episode 8, our buddy Kyle, who joined us for that one. And what ended up happening was there was a mistake in the episode numbering. I guess that he had told us he was interested in watching and joining us for. He had said 9 originally, which is this episode of season 4, and episode 8 was the one that he actually had meant. Right? He had told me the title, but then he also told me episode 9. But you know what? It actually worked out pretty nicely, I gotta say, because this episode honestly takes place totally opposite of all the events that basically occurred in episode 8. So in a way, we were able to, once I noticed that, and since this is, I think, the first time that they did an episode focus all in the same set of characters. I don't know if there's ever been an episode prior to this. Jay, do you recall another episode like this where it was just like all in one central spot location? Even for the Daenerys, I don't think she's had like a full episode to herself or anything like that.
Yeah, it takes you right out of it's right out of the realm there. Pun intended. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah,
no pun intended, because I intended that one.
yeah, because basically this one takes all place on the
Completely
wall
off.
there. Yeah.
Right? Like it
so
throws you right off.
So, like, after the events of the last episode, which were pretty shocking to say the least. Yeah.
It gave you a breather, bro. This is what it's doing. It's like, you know what? We'll
Right.
tease you before we give you the last episode.
Right. So it actually kind of worked out for the best, I gotta say. So make sure to tune in next episode, guys. If you enjoyed Kyle on the last episode, he's going to be joining us for the finale of season 4 as well. Which basically kind of picks up where we left off on episode 8, at least for everything happening around King's Landing and everywhere else in Westeros, but as well as the conclusion of what happened in this episode. Like it kind of touches on the events of this episode a little bit in episode 10, of course, as well. But as it stands, it kind of worked out because this was an episode solely based on the wall with the Night's Watch and the Wildling invasion. And if I'm not mistaken, this is maybe one of this is a bit of a spoiler for you, Jay. 2 episodes in this show that kind of all take place with a huge battle. Actually, you know what?
Bro, there, we've already seen it with huge
It's right.
battles
You're
and
right. You know what? The Blackwater episode, I believe, was a whole episode based on that battle too. Was it not? I don't think it ever. I think the whole episode was dedicated to that. Possibly the Blackwater one.
with strategy and what they were
Very-
gonna do too,
Yeah,
right? There was nothing
you know what? I
out of
take
the
it back.
ordinary.
I think that may have been the first episode that would just focus on the Blackwater stuff, that on that battle with Tyrion and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. But there's another one I think later on in the series too, which is another battle. So you'll see they've kind of do these episodes now and then, where they kind of dedicate the whole episode, to these big, I'd say, fights, battles, kind of moments that they've been building up or leading up to, right? This whole season. So for that matter, I gotta say, like, this episode was okay. Like, I don't like how it kind of focused. Like, this was a big fight, and I guess you got to kind of give it a. There was a lot to cover. Let's say that they've been building up with the whole wildling invasion. With the whole Mance thing, going against the Night Watch people, his brothers, right? I guess used to be his brothers, anyways. Now he's with the wildlings. What do you think? What did you think of this? Because for me, this was just okay. Obviously, there's only so much they could do in terms of effects for a big fight sequence like that they had in this, or like the things that they chose to show. There were some cool things, but what did you think over? Like, I can't believe that after the last episode, after how they left us with the Oberyn Martell shit like that. They kind of cut to a whole episode about this and they don't even touch on it's again. They just fucking with us in that sense, right? What do you think?
Well, I think I mean honestly, I I thought it was. You know what? It's kind of smart. It gives you a little breather. I think.
Yes.
I know you get all in your head about what the fuck happened last episode, right? And then because it tends to do this with you every episode, really, just about in this series, with this show, and it was nice to it almost like split the what do you call it the last I guess episode really instead of having like a two-parter in a sense episode if the next one is based more along what happened in episode 8
Yes.
then it kind of gives you a little bit of a breather. First of all, it would have probably pissed me off if I was watching it the following week.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like everybody else did, and like maybe when you did or when everybody else did,
Yeah.
if it was a big talk around the water cooler. But
Yeah.
it's like, why did they do that? Why did they bring Jon Snow into this whole episode?
Right. I tried to think back on it. I know a lot of people were upset, obviously, at Oberyn kind of dying at the end of the last episode. I don't know.
I think more now. I would think.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know if it was honestly watching it this time around, knowing the work of Pedro Pascal a bit more now at this point, and liking the novelty of seeing him as this character, having gone back and rewatched this now and seeing him in this show after his more recent successes on certain things. It kind of bugged me more now, I would say. I was trying to think back and at least for me, I mean, we'll have to hear, like I said, since we're recording this out of sequence, I'm sure our guests will have certain feelings on it because from what I recall, like he had mentioned this, that's one of his favorite characters, Kyle. So, so it's interesting. Like I don't know if it bugged me as much as like the Red Wedding because that I actually remember like how shocking that was at that time. Like this, I think was since I knew it was coming up. It obviously wasn't as shocking, first of all, and second of all, I don't know if it bugged me as much the first time around as you would have thought this time around. Because this time around, I had forgotten that battle, this whole episode was dedicated to it directly after. So like even watching it this time, I would say it bugged me more because I was looking forward to continuing our conversation about what had occurred in episode 8. But now we got to kind of
Dance around it.
And to kind of discuss. And not only that, I don't even think they touch on it all that much, Jay. So I'm just telling you right now to prepare yourself for that. I think they kind of just keep it moving because this is the type of fucking show that we're dealing with.
Well,
and
I don't expect much from these guys except to fucking break my heart and shit like that. That's all. I mean, I don't expect much, but yeah, you tend to like these characters and then everything starts to happen, right?
It's been fun to see your reactions though. Even the way again you latched onto this character and then knowing what was going to come up somewhere down the line. I just felt, seeing you kind of talk about the characters you like, it's hard for me sometimes on this show because I'm like,
I know I try to watch your face, bro. When I say it, I do try to watch your face, right? And even that last episode, I was trying to remember what this one now that we just are gonna record.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, is my brother? This is the one my brother was talking about. Right, like in that sense, because I know he tried to say John, it's John's eyes, right? And I'm thinking, oh, well, I don't know, I don't like to to know. I don't know,
Sure.
guys, if he has or hasn't yet still, or will not.
Still got
But
one more episode this season. You know he's alive at the end of this one, right? But anyway,
so
so yeah, so stay tuned, guys. Make sure to tune in next week for the return of Kyle for the finale of season 4. But yeah, let's get into this episode. I'm glad to hear you liked it. Like I said, it was fine for me. I didn't mind this one, but it
was
wasn't.
fun to watch, bro.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad episode, but like Game of Thrones for me, the best parts of Game of Thrones are all of I feel like the numerous interactions between characters, character moments. Again, we didn't get any Tyrion this episode, who's like my favorite, right? So like after the events of last one, I wouldn't say this was my favorite episode, but I got to say, like, the whole Jon Snow wildling story, I've liked a lot more this time around than I feel like I did the first time around, because I thought at least I think it was the second season when he kind of joined the wildlings there. I didn't love that whole direction of it when he had joined them temporarily, but you can see now why those events that occurred, like the relationship held with those people, meant a lot in these episodes, you know what I mean? So like it was a reason obviously why they went that way with the character, right? So like it kind of held a lot more weight, his relationship between them and the Night's Watch, right? So yeah,
it's just funny because you said it was shocking about the Red Wedding was shocking to you, and then I had said something about episode 8 to a friend of mine that worked there, and they said, well, you were kind of expecting probably something like this, but what did you think? Right away, they all say, what do you think of the Red Wedding? Right away, that's I guess the episode that everybody remembers most, bro.
Yes, I told you. I mean, we talked about it.
Yeah, but it was just funny that you just said it now.
It was honestly still the most shocking, I think, turn of events on a show ever that I've ever seen, that I feel like everybody was shocked by, because again, just at that time, you didn't think that they were going to take out the next person succeeding Ned Stark on the show after killing Ned Stark, right? And like with his son, with Rob, right? And the mother and everything else. So, but then I feel like after you saw that episode, you knew that anything's on the table.
Don't trust these guys.
Don't trust these fucking guys. So yeah. So, anyways, so we're talking about the episode "The Watchers on the Wall," which is Game of Thrones season 4, episode 9 here today, and I'll get into some of the events of the episode here. Jon and Sam are standing watch on the wall at the start of the episode and awaiting the wildling invasion. Sam attempts to ask Jon about what it was like to be with a woman in this moment, stating that as their deaths are looming, it may be his last chance to find out. Sam mentions that the vows of the Night's Watch only explicitly forbid members from taking wives or producing children, and that other activities are open to interpretation, meaning, they could essentially hook up with women. They don't think of it in that sense. But Sam, obviously the scholar, he's like, I read all the text. It says this. So
he's not married.
Yeah,
he's not married, and he didn't give her the baby. He's just helping.
You fucking egret is not that big of a deal. He was trying to say, right? Like, you're allowed to. You don't have to feel bad about it, right? Jon attempts to explain what it was like, but is unable to properly express it, proclaiming that he's not a bleeding poet.
See, there's another scene I thought we were gonna get to act out there. That would have been hilarious.
That would have been a good one. Yeah. So that's okay. Yeah. By the way, guys, we don't have any talking, no quotables here today set up, because I figured the events of this episode weren't as fun with the dialogue. But you're right, that would have been a good one. But I didn't really
try to explain sex.
Yeah.
Come on. Sorry.
Jon offers to take the watch up alone so Sam can go below. An owl lands on top of the wall and begins hooting loudly. The owl is revealed to be controlled by a Then Warg, who is a member of the platoon of wildlings under command of Tormund and Styr, or Steer, I don't know, Styr, I think, who have set up camp just outside Castle Black.
Is that ready?
Yeah, then we cut back over to the wildlings. Tormund's boasting about a bear he supposedly had sex with. In this scene.
Bro, I thought I was hearing things. Okay, I actually went back. Like, I mean, I could have reenacted that scene for you too, but I mean, like he left
You
out some
can
good
pull up
ones for me.
if you want, you can pull up the dialogue if you want to reenact that one for us.
But honestly, dude, I literally had to rewind it to make sure and put the subtitles on just to make sure I was understanding it the right way, man.
Hearing things right is like this guy just say
Yeah,
fucking nerd. Yeah.
yeah.
Egret doesn't believe this claim, shooting him down. He tells him that she only cares about getting as many arrows through the hearts of crows as possible. She angrily talks about how the people south of the wall have used it to shut the wildlings out and hunt them as enemies. Stir mockingly replies that Egret has more words about killing than she has arrows. She defends herself by saying she killed just as many people at Molestown as he, but Stir replies that none of them were her former lover. He further mocks her by saying that when she sees him, she'll likely just serve him a slice of ginger minge.
I'm wondering if that was slang for like a red-haired vagina or something like that.
Exactly, red-haired vagina. You got it, man.
Ginger, right?
Pussy, yeah.
So yeah, I said it the polite way for the first time, and Nico goes just straight off. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. Causing her to jump to her feet in anger, she stares him down and claims that she wants to kill Jon Snow herself. Then looks around the camp and warns the others that she has an arrow ready for anyone else who attempts to kill him. Just outside the camp, a shaded person cradling something passes by the wildlings unnoticed in this scene.
I didn't even notice, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What the hell that was?
Yeah, I mean, it is resolved very quickly in the next scene.
Yeah.
Like it kind of, it is interesting that, again, as we're about to find out how she ended up surviving that whole situation, right? So,
yeah.
Anyways, meanwhile, Sam is caught reading a book about wildlings by Maester Aemon. Aemon correctly guesses that Sam is reading the book because he wants to know what kind of fate might have befallen Gilly if she fell into wildling hands during the attack in Molestown. He also guesses that he cares so much because he is in love with her, despite Sam denying it. Aemon mentions a woman that he was once in love with, stating that he can still picture her as clear as day, despite being blind, and that she is more real than Sam is. After being dismissed by Aemon, Sam leaves the master's chambers only to hear Gilly at the gate, begging to be allowed inside, revealing her identity as the cloaked figure approaching Castle Black. I kind of like this moment with Master Aemon because, again, it's kind of like with the priesthood and shit. Like, just because with certain that may have because certain religions, priests too can't be with women, but it doesn't mean that they've forgotten past relationships that they've been in. So that's kind of what that's what kind of that I got out of this scene was that at least he still has those fond memories of a woman, and he can still kind of, like he said, he can still sense it.
Picture them right now.
You can still sense, yeah, but he can still sense it in Sam, that he can tell that he's in love, and he's not giving him a hard time about it. You know what I mean? Like I liked how he was just like, oh no, you can't lie to me. I can tell what's going on with you, and I still remember this woman that I was with, right? So like it just humanizes them a little bit, because it's a weird, it's a weird oath to begin with, that you're not allowed to kind of be with anybody, right? But I think like it does remind me of like I said, a priesthood as well, in that sense, the Night's Watch.
I like the line he used. He said, "Love is the duty, the death of duty." Right?
Yeah, because
you take your focus off. That's what happens. That's basically what he's saying,
what
right?
happened to Rob, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's funny the way he goes on. It's like he's a fucking he used to be a fucking playboy, this guy, right? Because he says, "I'm Aemon Targaryen." He's like, "You didn't think
he was a Targaryen."
Yeah,
he is a Targaryen, right?
He's no longer, because technically he's part of the Night's Watch, but like but that's what he is, right? And that's, I liked how they brought that up again and reminded you of that. He's like, "Well, you don't think I had women like who wanted to, bang or be with me back then, right?" So I liked that. Again, it was a nice reminder of that. Basically, Pipar denies Gilly passage into the castle, saying that he is not allowed to open the gate under any circumstances. However, Sam yells at Pip to open the door, or the fucking door now. Essentially, like he tells him, this is the first time he's ever like raised his voice and swore at anybody, which shocks him. Which again, I think is good for a good moment for Sam, because he's like, that enough of this shit. Like open the fucking door.
Fucking door, yeah.
Yeah.
He's starting to grow some balls. I felt like slowly.
Oh yeah, this
right?
episode's a huge episode for Sam in terms of like bravery that he kind of stepped up in this one.
His
right?
character, yeah, his arc. I guess I feel like it was character.
Exactly. Yeah. Sam promises Gilly wherever he goes next, he will be there too. Or sorry, wherever she goes, he'll be there too. The reunion is interrupted by 2 blows from the horn, though, indicating that Mance's wildling army has finally begun their assault. Sam rushes to get Gilly safely inside the castle, while the other brothers of the Night's Watch prepare for the impending attack by the wildlings. So yeah, now it's it's time to fight, essentially, right? They're there, they're at the gates.
You know what's funny? When I was watching this one with Amon there, right? And he was talking to Sam. I look at his face, and I look at the blonde hair, because when he says his name, the Targaryen, right? He's literally Aemon Targaryen from the House of Dragons. It's the same name. It's just without the D, minus the D, right? They had the D in House of Dragons, and this one is just the N. Yeah, it's like they inherit the name.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's kind of weird. It threw me right off, because I go, it kind of looks like it, but it can't be, because he's 100 and something years old now.
Yeah, no, that's a different person, right? But yeah, it should be interesting.
It's crazy
if we see him on that show, right? So
it's a baby.
What else we got here? On top of the wall, John hears the horn blowing and looks north, witnessing a large grouping to the north. Just as Mance had promised, south of the wall, the Theden Warg's owl also spots the fire and informs Stir and Tormund that the time has come to attack Castle Black. John approaches Sir Alistair Thorne, who finally admits that they should have listened to John's advice and blocked the gates, right? He finally I think that this is a good moment, just because he finally fucking admitted that John actually had a good plan and that he should have listened to him instead of fucking just giving him a hard fucking time as he normally does. Right. It was big of him to finally admit that, but a little too late, bud. Like, now the wildlings are at your fucking front door, and maybe you should have listened to this guy, right?
He's literally scared. You could see it in his eyes. He's like, "Nah, this is that scene, like they're sitting there talking." But this was a good shot, I think, of
that's
John.
That's
there
not him.
too.
That's the other dude. That's the dude who has
the other guy right afterwards.
Yeah, that's the guy that has to take over, who's actually really, because Alistair runs down to help them, and then he's kind of in charge of everything going on at the top of the wall. And then what ends up happening,
and then he goes down afterwards.
Yeah, and he hides.
John in charge.
He ends up hiding with her, right? Because this guy is so flustered and not prepared for the attack that John takes over, right? Yeah, so that guy too was not ready for, like, but that's the guy that kind of, saddles.
These are the two head guys.
Yeah, exactly. No, but Alistair throws down in this. Alistair throws down, like, he kind of puts his money where his mouth is, but he does admit in this moment to him that he was wrong and kind of doubting him. He says that leadership often means being second guessed by every clever little twat with a mouth, and when a man in charge second guesses himself, all is doomed. Preparing himself for the impending siege, Thorne begins barking orders to the archers, preparing them to fire upon the attackers below. So he's not necessarily wrong, honestly. Like, he just thought that John was a shithead, like the rest of the people that try to, like, you know what I mean? Like he says, you got to kind of be confident in your decisions if you're in charge. But
you got to build trust.
That too. But he's like, you got to understand, like, he's probably like, I've dealt with a lot of fucking idiots as well. So I think he didn't know that John was maybe more valuable to him and his opinions than others, right? So, like, I get it. I get what he's saying. He's not necessarily wrong. I think he should have considered, obviously, what John was saying previously, because, like, I don't think he ever tried to, he was always looking out for them. Like, he was always just trying to help, right? So I think he was coming at it all wrong a little bit by thinking that John was trying to, like, take over for him, essentially, right? But I mean, like, he does, after what he does here on top of the wall, he does garner a lot of command and respect from these guys, right? So, like, it's interesting to see his character develop, and 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 look how many battles that John has been involved with already that have been successful, right? It's more than we can say about a lot of characters on this show, right? So,
Well, the best part too is that he's literally just trying to help him out. He's been there. He knows how many they have. He knows the inside. He's been, literally inside one of them. So, but
uh,
but I can understand it. It's like anybody older than us. Like I mean, during older, trying to like hand over that rank in that sense or trust somebody in that sense, right?
yes,
Because they haven't done it as much. It's like somebody trying to believe Rob back in the day when he was alive.
yeah.
Rob Stark is it? I'm talking about not our co-host on Late Night Chat.
Sam brings Gilly and her baby to a storage room where she can hide. Gilly wants Sam to stay with her as he promised, but he cannot, as he has to join his brothers of the Night's Watch. Before he leaves her, Gilly begs Sam to promise her that he won't die, and then the two finally share a kiss in this moment after everything that they've been through too.
Yeah.
Kind of finally gets a kiss from her in this scene, which was good.
He gets the courage.
Yeah.
Hey, you might not see her again. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah, he's going off to battle, right? As Sam and Piper are preparing arrows at the southern gate, Piper mentions that he has never seen a real battle before or even held an edged blade. Pipe asks how Sam is not afraid. Or Pipar, I don't know how you say his name, but Sam replies that he is. Pip asks how he managed to kill a White Walker while being afraid, and Sam says that at that moment he had no choice or Gilly would have been killed and her baby would have been taken. Sam further explains that at that moment, he wasn't himself. He was nothing. And then when you are nothing, there's nothing to be afraid of. However, he explains the reason he is afraid now is because I'm not nothing anymore. So, like, now at this point in time, it seems like he now feels that he serves a purpose. Not only kind of protecting Gilly, but also like in terms of like I think even his comfortability with the Night's Watch, because he obviously was not as skilled as a lot of these men going into this situation. You know what I mean? He's always
for sure.
the shy one. John was kind of always watching over him for a period of time, but he's had his own, bouts with danger so far. He took out a White Walker. He's very knowledgeable. You know what I mean? He has a lot of friends in the Night's Watch. He has Gilly now. So like he actually has purpose in his life now where he felt he didn't before, I feel like. And I think that's what he said. He's like, I actually have things to live for now. Like that's kind of what I took from that.
Well, that's what I got from it too. Because you feel it, right? You feel it in that moment, right? He's actually acting that part really good about saying, the way, because at one point he didn't care to hide or whatever, right?
Right.
But now he was just more worried about hiding her and the baby.
You're right. Yeah, no, exactly. Like he has
Fighting.
things to live for, I feel like now. So he kind of cares about what happens to him. And that's why it kind of is motivating him, right? So yeah, it's good. Like you said, good moments for Sam this episode.
Very good.
Meanwhile, Ygritte spies on the castle to scout members of defenders. She tells the other wildlings that most of the guards are at the top of the wall and that few are left in the castle. As they rush off, Ygritte seems to have second thoughts. You see a moment in her eyes, I feel like, in this scene where it's just like, yeah, she's not so sure if she's still, she seems unsure if she still wants to be involved with, if this was a mistake or not, right? Because obviously she still had love and feelings for John. And she doesn't like what's going on essentially, but she's in it. She's a part of this group, so she has no choice, right? So I think it sucks, right?
She's got a short balls, but I think that's why she pulled that whole if anybody tries to put something in him before me, it's
right.
She wants to shoot him, right? Apparently in her head. I didn't believe that when she said it. I just thought that was a sneaky thing to get her alone with him, right?
Yeah. North of the wall, the massive wildling army emerges from the woods. Their numbers, including giants riding atop mammoths. How was this for you, Jay? This was pretty fucking cool, right? I mean, like,
this is awesome.
Say what you want about the graphics being what they are at this time, but this was pretty fucking cool to see. Not only giants, but fucking giants riding mammoths, right? They're like kind of mammoths out there, which is, the fact that they have giants, I think, is the coolest fucking thing, right? Very cool.
First of all, first that they have these guys, these ogre giants, but then these the mammoths that came out when I seen that today, it kind of the other day when I watched the episode, it fucking really had me watching because I mean you could see they have like a dog chain on this thing, right? So they're all holding on to this rope here. And
you
I'm
know,
thinking, how these guys control it. This I know it's not real, bro, obviously, but
yeah. Well, no. Well, woolly mammoths, so were
yeah,
like that's
yeah.
like so like that is from a again, it's a fictional world. It's not real, but like obviously that's from Jurassic era kind of stuff, right?
Well,
Like so the fact that they are acknowledging that like yeah, this would be a period where they still woolly mammoths actually still like existed, right? It's kind of cool, like because they are pulling from real life instead of fantasy there, where they're like yeah, these things existed, so it's kind of neat. Like but then you have a giant right right, so it's
yeah.
kind of it's interesting though, but like what other creature would they really ride around on, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I really do like the fact that they utilized mammoths for their essentially their horses essentially, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and then it's kind of at first, yeah, like you said, it reality. It's almost like a reality because that mammoths are real, right? Well, they were at one point, but yeah. So it kind of blends a little bit of that with the fantasy, so it doesn't make you feel like you're completely watching like a fantasy show. I know it's a little different, right? But
Mhm.
they mix a lot of fantasy and reality, almost like the real times. Errors like of that sense in that sense, right? The way
Yeah,
they
and and
speak and
and
spoke.
and again, it's something that people are familiar with, like like
You
um,
can relate when you see a picture of a
well,
mammoth. You could say, "I've seen it
I mean,
before."
look at even the popular animated films Ice Age. There's a mammoth character in that, voiced by Ray Romano, right? And again, like it would make sense that any character that existed in this time, sorry, not character, creature that existed at beyond the wall in like the Arctic essentially or whatever, like you know what I mean, like that terrain would be a mammoth, right? Like so it's kind of very it makes sense to me. Like I know it's a fucking giant riding it, but very cool nonetheless. I did really
Oh,
enjoy that. Yeah, I thought you'd
yeah, it
like
was.
that. Yeah.
I did. I was like, "All right, cool, man. Let's see where this is going." And then it got even interesting, more interesting with them.
Realizing the dire need for experienced men to defend the keep from the surprise attack, Alistair orders Janos Slint to assume command of the wall's defenses and heads below to join the melee. That's Janos Slint, I think, in the picture that you showed. That's the guy that he puts in command of
The guy riding it, right?
the guy that was in the picture. No, no, no. I'm talking about the Night's Watch guy that was in the picture with John that you put up. That's
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
puts in command because he sees what's going on down there and they're getting overwhelmed with all the wildlings attacking. So he kind of joins them downstairs because, again, they're on top of the wall. There's like a whole elevator type system that they have, guys, that's involved with the wall. And, and they're getting breached through the actual front of this kind of the Castle Black stuff, like, but then also getting attacked on, there's attack to the north and the south. Like there's different, the battle actually encompasses like a few different locations of their area in this episode, right?
Yeah, they were coming at different angles.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So
But that
anyway,
wall, I didn't know it had a gate.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not the wall. Like I mean, they're atop the wall right now, right?
Yeah.
That's basically, yeah. Anyways, below, Tormund and Stur's forces charge the gate while Ygritte, acting as a sniper, manages to pick off several men defending the gate with her bow. Pip is firing a crossbow as Sam assists by reloading another crossbow, but Pip's aim is poor due to inexperience and nerves, so he repeatedly misses his shots. The band of wildlings manage to reach Castle Black's walls and begin scaling them using grappling hooks and ropes, forcing Sam and Pip to retreat.
These were some crazy that there that you said about the grappling hooks there.
Yes.
That was pretty cool how they were doing it, how they were scaling it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought those graphics and those angles were pretty cool, the way they were doing that stuff.
They definitely
Right?
were better. I mean, it was better this season than it was in earlier seasons, obviously, right? I mean, and then,
Yeah.
once you get closer to the end of this series, of course, it's going to be a huge jump in terms of quality because the show was so big at that time. They could afford the budget a little bit more, I think, at that time. And not only that, graphics got better over time, right? So, like, I think
Yeah.
by the time, it's not that much of a spoiler. There's going to be other big battles ahead of us, Jay, another few seasons of stuff happen. So, stay tuned. It does get better in terms of some of the graphics as well. But Alistair Thorne arrives with reinforcements from the top of the wall via the wooden lift system, which is being operated by Ollie. Alistair gives an impassioned speech. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that one kid that's operating that whole elevator system?
Yes,
That's fucked up.
but he's kind of important to the events of
Today's episode.
Alistair gives an impassioned speech promising that the ancient order of the Night's Watch and Castle Black will survive this battle. His speech rallies the Black Brothers, and Alistair personally leads the charge against the Wildlings, who have breached Castle Black's defenses, causing an intense battle to erupt in the courtyard. So yeah, as I mentioned, Alistair's up in the mix. Like, he's not one to kind of, like, not be involved in everything going on. He may have talked a lot of shit to John and everything else, but he's stepped up and he's trying to be a good leader and commander here in this moment, right? On the northern side of the wall, Wildling strike force led by two giants, one which is riding a mammoth, charged towards Castle Black's outer gate. On top of the wall, Janos Slint, having no true leadership experience, breaks down at the sight of the massive Wildling army and begins fumbling his orders. Wisely, Gren steps in, one of John's boys there, by falsely claiming that Alistair needs Janos back down below. And then you can even tell in the moment, like, he kind of half believes. He's like, oh, yes, of course, I'm needed below. He's like, get me the fuck out of here. He fucking runs.
I'm gone. Yeah. See ya.
Janos believes the lie and leaves, allowing John to take command of the wall's defenses. And this is kind of where, Gren, his boy, did that so John could take over the situation, and he does so. He starts giving out orders, telling people what to do, and you kind of get a handle of things a little bit better as a result of this guy fucking being so scared, right, and not knowing what to do in the moment. The Black Brothers continue to rain down arrows on the advancing wildlings. So some good action happening here, right? Some good stuff.
Yeah, it was cool, man. You don't see how many, and they were firing like arrows by in a split second. That was the craziest. Just like you grab one, go, grab one, go. I'm like, fuck, I couldn't even load an arrow that quick.
Right. And I mean, like, they're outnumbered at this point in time, right? They're outnumbered in this, I mean, they have enough.
They're fighting for their lives.
This attack, but they also, this is it. And the Wildlings have more people, right? This is only a small portion of their army that they basically sent against them, right? So, down in Castle Black, the battle rages on between the Wildlings and the Night's Watch. Stir and Egret continue to slay numerous brothers of the Night Watch. At one point, a group of Wildlings breach Castle Black's dining hall. One Wildling is killed when a Black brother throws boiling stew in his face and beats him to death with the pot. Hob, Castle Black's cook, calmly enters the dining hall and kills a Wildling with his massive butcher's knife. Meanwhile, Janos Slint cowardly retreats to her storage room where he discovers Gilly and her baby hiding out in. Yeah, so fuck, there's some crazy some fight sequences happening here, right? In this moment. There's a lot happening in this battle. There's a lot going on in the moment, right? Even, I gotta say, even some of the choreography, like the shots of the camera kind of going through, like, obviously they all had their placement, like, of like, hey, you fight here, you got, but like there's a couple of great scenes where they kind of do like a pan, like a shot of like them kind of going across everything that's happening, and you see kind of all the action happening in different kind of spots, you know what I mean? Like, so they did a good job of shooting the battle, making you feel like you were kind of there, you know what I mean? Like, I think there was some really good camera work, I think, done in this episode as well, which you could tell in a couple of moments. It's not all CGI. Like, there is a couple of shots where they do just have a cameraman kind of just shooting like
panning.
A whole scene, like, you know what I mean? So it kind of gave you the, it gave you the experience of being there in the moment, right? So it was really interesting.
Yeah, no, I see how, like, I've seen that firsthand, how they've done that stuff. So it's kind of cool how you see that. And when you see something that big, and that means that whole set has to be, acting at the same time, right? As opposed to scene per scene, right? Like,
well, yeah, I mean,
shot per shot.
Those shots are difficult, and it could take several. It could take several attempts to try to do that kind of stuff, right? So, like, it's and everybody's kind of got to be in the right place. And you know what I mean? Like, so like those aren't easy shots to do. And I feel like a show like this, we've seen there's so much CGI and stuff in this show. Obviously, even for scenery, right? Because this is an amazing kind of world. We only get a lot of talking moments where it's just like a camera just focus on the characters, right? But this was an actual opportunity in this episode to actually branch out of what we're kind of used to in terms of like the them shooting the scenes in this show, right? Which they kind of, it was very much, it was more interesting, I think, this one.
Oh
So
yeah, but then and they for a dark scene too, it's easier to hide a little bit of the flaws that they have in a scene like that's another thing too.
and that's the thing with the earlier CGI was there's like, if you look at even the Lord of the Rings battles in the Lord of the Rings movies, for anybody that's seen those out there, same thing. That was something that early CGI, it was very dark. A lot of the battles, like they couldn't actually show too much. Not a lot was very clear. And that's kind of what sucks. And that's why you can tell that it's older technology, because now it's so much more bright, like the fight scenes that they do for the CGI and the stuff that they're able to shoot. But this is that's what kind of, and this does take place at night. There's actually, Jay, it's funny you mentioned that. There is another episode, I think, if it's not this one, I think there might be even another one coming up at some point where a battle happens at night. And again,
it's just because it's easier.
It doesn't do it any favors though as a viewer, right? Like it's not as it's easier for them, sure, but it also it's like it doesn't look as good, let's say, as what you get out of, like, you know what I mean? Like I know a lot.
You can hide the what do you call it, the flaws a lot easier when it's moving faster. It's like something like I might go off a little topic here, but it's like something like a Transformers when they would transform. If it was a darker scene, you don't see all the moving parts. You know, you just hear it and you think it's doing it right. So
early CGI, right? That's kind of that is a result of that. Like I know, like a lot of people complain about, again, the battles in Lord of the Rings, the battle, like there's a lot of these things, I think, even in like the earlier 2000s, that were kind of when they started really getting good with CGI and stuff like that. That just, obviously you can't hold a candle to it looking back on some of that stuff now compared to today, right? So I mean, look at production values on fucking House of the Dragon, right? Like it's crazy, like how good that show was, right? Yeah. So, anyways, but this wasn't bad. It was good, but like, yeah, you definitely can notice that. And that's,
well, the thing too is I noticed there's a lot of hands-on fighting as opposed to like CGI fighting, like where you see people having it actually, which is actually a nice difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to what you see nowadays.
Yeah. Pip manages to kill a wildling with his crossbow, but it is then shot through the neck by Ygritte. But then he's shot through the neck by Ygritte. You know, he gets taken out, sadly. Sam comforts Pip and stays with him until he dies. Sam is forced to leave Pip's body as he heads to Castle Black's lift system, but he is spotted by the Thenn warg. The warg charges at Sam as he desperately attempts to load his crossbow, managing to do so and firing a bolt into the warg's head just before he reaches him. So a close call for Sam after this. Managing to do so, meanwhile, Alistair Thorne is locked in a vicious duel with Tormund on the catwalks of Castle Black, and he is wounded badly during the battle and is forced to retreat. He kind of falls off. He falls off like the whole catwalk, and kind of like he's kind of like, yeah, I'm out.
Stumbles,
being dragged to safety as he continues to shout orders to his men. But yeah, he gets fucked up, unfortunately, during the fight, but he's still alive. The Black Brothers defending the wall manage to repel most of the wildling attacking the outer gate, but one giant manages to make it through, greatly weakening the gate by repeatedly smashing it with his
fist. This was awesome.
Yeah, and managing to single-handedly begin lifting the gates. Jon, knowing the inner gate won't hold against the massive giant, sends a group of his brothers led by Gren to hold it at any cost. This would be scary if he was actual giants. Yeah. Got a shot of that? Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
They hooked it onto the gate. They had this thing going, and as they attacked them, this one guy got fucking pissed because it killed his buddy. Right? And I was like, what the fuck are they doing? And he starts punching this thing. I go, why didn't he just do that all along?
Yeah.
Oh, it was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, that was a good scene. Sam arrives atop the wall to ask Jon for more men to defend the castle, and Jon tasks Sam with releasing Ghost from his pen to assist in the fighting. Jon descends the wall and quickly takes out several wildlings and catches the attention of Styr. This is a pretty sick fight. The two fight until Styr eventually gets the upper hand by knocking Longclaw away and brutally assaulting Jon, smashing his face into an anvil and tossing him into the blacksmith's forge. Stir picks John up and begins strangling him, but John spits blood in Stir's face and distracts him long enough for John to grab the blacksmith's hammer lying next to him and buries it in Stir's skull. That was a pretty good fucking fight, these two, because this guy has been built up for a while now, this cannibal guy, and the fact that John got to throw down with him, he gets his ass beat pretty good by him. Like he's not like he walks away uninjured. Yeah. But
he just is giving that look.
Listen, yeah, I like John too, though. I think he's kind of as evidenced time and time again. He's not beyond kind of fighting a little dirty when he needs to, right?
No.
I mean, when it gets kind of to this point in time, you kind of will do anything, right, to kind of one up your opponent, right? So that was pretty awesome. I really like that.
I mean, we've already I think gone past that part, but when that guy, when the ogre shoots the arrow at the guy at the top right beside John there, right?
Yes.
And he just takes him flying like to the other side of the fucking castle or the other side of the wall. Like literally, he shoots that massive arrow. That was crazy, man.
A couple of things, actually, notes I had taken and I forgot to mention. Worth noting. An interesting thing that happened with Janos there when he kind of started freaking out before John took over control of the wall that I noted here is that when this was going on, John had turned to him and basically had mentioned the fact that a giant was attacking the wall, attacking them, and he's like denying that they exist. I'm like, dude, look over fucking the wall here. There's a fucking giant. Like this guy's like, oh no, they don't exist. What are you talking about? But he was just in denial. You know what I mean? He was obviously he was scared shitless, and but it's just funny. I'm like, dude, like just look over here. There's a fucking giant out here. What do you mean they don't exist, right? It's a little different when you can see them, right? And also another interesting thing, which again it's worth noting about because of what's about to happen here. When Sam's kind of doing his thing with the crossbow there, he sees Ollie before because he just took the elevator up to John on top of the wall, like I just mentioned, to kind of let him know that he needed more reinforcements. But he basically mentions to him because he could see that he's scared with everything going on and this kid's just operating the fucking lift. He advises him to grab a weapon. He's like, grab a fucking crossbow. Like, you know what I mean? Like you, this is very Sam, like it lets him know it's very important, this fucking job that you have. Because he's losing it a little bit. Like he's so scared of what's happening around him. Like Sam, like kind of is like, get it together. Like you're actually very important. Now I need you to fucking bring me up to the top because I need to go tell John that we need help. So like grab a weapon. And he's like, just kind of keep your head on a swivel. You know what I mean? Like he kind of is like, you get your head in the game here, essentially, right? So I think
he's good with kids. I noticed. Like it's weird. He's very good. He explains it very well.
Yes, yeah, but he kind of snaps them out of whatever's going on.
Right?
Yeah. So and as a result, honestly, like this kid saves the day later on.
Plays a big part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. We'll we'll see. Atop the wall, Edison Tollett, who John left in command of the defenses, orders the men to drop the scythe. A huge section of ice suddenly falls away from the wall. Now, what do you think of this invention here, Jay, that they revealed here?
That was fucking neat, bro. I can't. The picture on here is so shit. Like it just shows a bunch of
like literally like a huge blade.
Like
yeah, like like the Grim Reaper. That's what a scythe is. What he uses. So essentially, they have like a thing that shaves ice fragments from the fucking wall that they can use essentially to help their defensive.
It sort of looked like what do you call it to me? One of those things with the boats, like an anchor that they were just drag along the wall on something that's that was attached, like and scrape the thick ice off the wall, right?
Yeah.
It was so cool. Like I mean, the picture doesn't do it any justice.
No.
You actually have to see it. Like, I'll try to put it up. Like, I mean, they start taking out this whole section. It swings from one end over here and then just comes across.
Yeah,
it was fucking neat when I seen it.
Cool. Yeah. A huge section of ice suddenly falls away from the wall, revealing a massive anchor-like blade. There you go, attached to a chain that swings along the wall, mowing through the wildlings, attempting to climb its face. Edison notices the wildling forces are beginning to withdraw into the haunted forest, proclaiming that they have stopped them for now, but the wildlings still outnumber the Black Brothers 1,000 to 1. and that Mance was simply testing their defenses with this attack, right? So
Just
yeah,
kind of seeing what they were ready for.
yeah, they still have their work cut out for them, right? Below, oh, sorry, I jumped ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you missed the part where they went in.
Because I hinted at it. Sorry. So this wall moment with the scythe happened directly after this very important scene. Upon killing Stir, this is directly after he killed him, John. John turns around to find Ygritte pointing her bow at him with an arrow drawn. He smiles at her, causing Ygritte to hesitate. Before either can say anything, Ygritte is shot near the heart by an arrow fired from Ollie, the kid who I just mentioned, where he said grab a bow or something, Sam, to him, because he, and something that I actually didn't make note of, but in my in me pulling the description, the synopsis of this episode, I was remembered here. He avenged the death of his father at Ygritte's hands during the wildling attack on his village, which I didn't recall, but he kind of had a little bit of justice there as a result, in this moment, right?
And he didn't look scared over there. It's whatever Sam said to him, man.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I ended up skipping it, because I wanted to make sure I mentioned that's how he kind of got in that position to kind of kill Ygritte. But my question for you here, I'll just finish this description here, and I want to ask you a question. Yeah. John holds her in his arms as she tells him that they should have never left the cave, as they regret the circumstances that prevented them from being together as she dies. Do you think that she was going to end up shooting him there, or no?
I don't know, bro. I don't. I think she would have wounded him again.
I mean, the woman already shot him with 3 arrows previous to this, right? I think she hesitated, sure, but I think that what had happened in that moment with that kid Ollie there interrupting and kill, it had to happen. He could have easily got killed there. John wasn't going to do anything, right? You saw it. She caught him,
and it was pretty close too.
He caught him literally fucked up after the Stir battle. Like, he literally turned around from doing that, and she has her fucking arrow drawn. So he's kind of just like, kind of smiled at her in the moment because he was happy to see her, but he's just like, he knew this could be it for me, right? Like, I feel like in that moment he was ready to accept whatever happened to him, right? Like, I think like there's nothing. That's right. And that's why
love is the death of duty, bro.
That it's not like he gave this kid a hard time about it, right? Like, I mean, the kid saved him in a sense, but like whether or not she would actually have pulled the trigger on that and killed him, I don't know. I mean,
is it true or not? Yeah, you'll never know though.
Hard to say. It's hard to say. So
take that one to the grave, man. She's gonna have to get. She took it. Fuck.
Below a heavily wounded Tormund is surrounded in the courtyard after everyone starts fleeing from the wildlings at the end of the battle, but continues to fight despite being the only wildling alive in Castle Black. He's like flailing around trying to fight them all. Right, this guy's crazy. Yeah. John approaches him with a crossbow and takes him prisoner by the Night's Watch for interrogation. Sam returns to Gilly just like he promised and discovers Janos Slynt, who hid in fear during the entire battle. Against all odds, the Night's Watch have repelled Mance Rayder's forces for the time being. So yeah, good battle here, good battle. And there's a last scene here, which is very important, I think. And then we'll follow up once again with John in the next episode here. But the following morning, what is left of Castle Black's men begin to regroup and prepare for the inevitable next attack by Mance Rayder. John discusses with Sam that he has a suicidal solution to end the wildling threat. He plans to assassinate Mance Rayder, noting that he is the only thing binding the wildling clans that make up the army, and his death will rob them of that purpose and leadership. So, I mean, after taking the beating that they did, John's like, listen, this is the only way we're going to end up fucking stopping this next attack. And we can't take a next attack. And, so I think he's just like, since he did spend time with them, since Mance was a previous Night's Watch, he is able to he thinks like, even though he could walk into a death trap here and they could kill him right away, he's like, the only thing I could do is go talk to them and, try to get some reasoning out of them or take him out. Essentially, that's what he's saying. I'm going to try to go talk peace with them, and I'm going to take him out. Right. Because if I do that, then maybe we'll put a stop to all this. Right. So Sam tries to talk sense into John, but fails in doing so. As John prepares to leave via Castle Black's tunnel, they discover the bodies of the Black brothers who held the inner gate against the giant. Gren
That
is
was
among
crazy.
yeah, Gren is among the casualties, and John tells Sam that all of the bodies must be burned, which is, you know, smart on his part after what they've seen of the White Walker shit, right? Before John leaves, he remembers the promise he made to Jorah Mormont and decides to leave Longclaw with Sam. Sam tells John to come back, and John looks at Sam and smiles before stepping out into the wilderness on the other side of the gate. So yeah, man.
Sam didn't leave though, right?
No,
He just
Sam
gave
stayed.
him this. He just gave him the sword, and
Gave
that
Sam
was
the sword.
Jorah's sword, right?
Yeah. Well, not Jorah, the other Mormont, his brother, or I think it was
Oh, okay.
brother that was part of the Night's Watch that
Yeah, because Jorah still has his, I would think, on him. Like regardless, he has a sword of some
yeah.
sort. Because I know he's still around. But yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, very cool. You know, it was a good episode. I mean, like I said, it wasn't bad. I just you know, I prefer usually instead of dedicating a whole episode to a battle like this, I do prefer kind of the comings and goings of the King's Landing drama, all the other characters and stuff like that. But it was needed. Like this has been something they've been building really the last couple of seasons. And you know, I think that dedicating a whole episode to it like they did here was necessary, right? So yeah, no, good stuff. You know, I think John's idea is a smart one because they really can't afford to go through what they just did in this battle, and this is like you said, just the start of it. And
yeah, he scared them off for the night, but they're gonna keep coming back. But that was, I mean, there was a lot of like with the scenes here. I just found them like really crazy. There was some parts that, you know, even with the CGI, like those giants trying to pull the chains, trying to pull the gates up, and that, you know what I mean, when they go into the underground there, when they get in, and the other guys from the wall, they hold they hold the gate in the down, like at the bottom, right, for what John notices. But there was some sort that part that I told you I couldn't believe is when that guy went flying with the arrow. I think that was a part that out of all the graphics in that, where, you know, you're looking at like, what's this guy gonna take out with the arrow? And he misses once, and then everybody, they yell duck, and then the next thing you know, like literally, he goes fucking flying right over to the other side. And I did literally slow it down because it happened so quick and it was dark. But you notice the guy right here, right? He literally took off from this point and was gone.
yeah.
And I thought it was fucking hilarious, bro. To be honest with you, like that was probably one of the more funnier parts of it. Was like, wow, it was. If I would have seen that for the first time, I probably would have been more. I guess that was my first time technically,
Right.
but you know, I don't know. I thought that was pretty neat. The mammoths, the fucking ogres, right? It just it was a nice to have that little break, I think, in between episodes. I feel.
Yeah, I definitely think the idea of having a break, as you mentioned, was very needed, and it actually, it was good that they did that, and they didn't make this like the last episode of the season. You know what I mean? But like, and they didn't leave on the cliffhanger that they did the last episode for the end of the season, which would have really pissed me off. So yeah, I think the way that they did it worked out pretty well in that sense. Absolutely. So. And yeah, next episode is going to be episode 10 of season 4, the finale. It's titled The Children, and we'll be having our returning guest Kyle on for that one, as he was on the previous episode 8 with us. So that'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that, guys. And actually, it might be, I mean, I didn't fact check this, but at least just from what I saw, it might be the longest episode of the series so far. It's an hour and 5 minutes, this one, which normally you get about 50 to 55 minutes, maybe even an hour on maybe the finales. But I think it being the finale, and they had a lot of, loose ends, I guess, to kind of tie up and directions that they had to send these characters in once again, as they normally do at the end of the season, or set up for the next storyline of theirs. It's an hour and 5 minutes, which is a bit longer than some of the a lot of the episodes I feel like in the show so far, because usually they're about 50 minutes, 55 minutes at most, but this one's an hour and 5. So it's a big one. It's a doozy of an episode, and we kind of get as I mentioned, we kind of touch on some of the events that happened from episode 8, as well as John going to the Wildlings, which is kind of where we left off in this episode, right? So very, very interesting stuff. Hope you guys have enjoyed this show. It's been fun doing it so far. We have some
We're
more
like
guests.
halfway through.
Yeah, we're already halfway through. We have some more guests already planned for season 5. I don't think we're wasting any time. I think we already have 2 other guests signed up for season 5. I think Christina will be joining us again on that episode. On some episodes. I think, and also I think we're supposed to be having Leslie, our co-host from Late Night Chat, who's going to be joining us for a couple of episodes in season 5 as well. And as well, hopefully we'll see Kyle on again. He'll join us again if he wants. And yeah, good stuff, guys. Like it's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys have been tuned in, and we have been dropping these still weekly Thursdays at 8. And make sure you're subscribed as always. Late Night Chat Network and Late Night Collectors community, guys.
Hey, yeah, make sure to subscribe, guys, because this is fun, and I can't wait to watch like the last one, the children. So
Episode, man. Honestly, like I gotta say, minor spoiler. There's a fight in episode 10 that I think's better than any fight that happened in this episode. Quite frankly, yeah. So there you go. I'll leave it at that. A little teaser for you guys.
Do you know whose son this is? If I share the picture with you guys from the show today. This was on that episode. Do you know who? Just look at the face and tell me if you can think of who. I took the name off the bottom because it'll give it away by the last name.
I don't know.
Probably one of your favorite movies, or out of like your favorite director's movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of your. I guess who would be your favorite director? It would be Tarantino.
One of mine. Yeah, if not my favorite. Yeah.
So there's somebody that plays in a lot of his movies whose son that is, and it's Tim Roth's son, because it looked familiar, right? I had to look at it because he had that weird looking face like Tim Roth, right? Yeah. I had to look it up, but it's Jack. Yeah,
Jack Roth. That's his name.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, that is. You can see it now. Yeah. Now you mention it. Yeah, very cool.
That dumb look that like Tim Roth has sometimes. You know what I mean? Like in the Pulp Fiction scenes, just that look he has sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean he's been. I think he's been in both 3 of Quentin Tarantino's movies. That Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight.
Not my favorite Tarantino movie, but he's good. Yeah. To be honest, I've seen Tim Roth very rarely in other things. I feel like I know he's done a lot, but like I just don't. I feel like the things I've seen him in the most were Tarantino stuff, obviously, because I'm a big fan of his stuff, like you mentioned. But yeah, good stuff. It's that's a cool tidbit that you just came across there. Very neat.
I know, yeah. So many people like that are on when you're going through this show now that you get to know that you see that it might have been from somewhere else. I'm still waiting to see. Now we still got one more. I'm waiting to see that at least know who they are.
I don't know if it was an exorcism movie or a scary movie. I just seen a trailer. Speaking of people from Game of Thrones, I think it was a scary movie or a thriller or something. I forgot what it was specifically. There was a trailer that I just saw at the theaters recently that fucking Davos was in from Game of Thrones, the actor who plays Davos, right? Yeah, he looks exactly like I think it's a vampire one. That's it. There's like a vampire film that's coming out. I forgot what the fuck it's called, but if you guys may have seen it out recently, I guess the trailer just dropped. And the actor who plays Davos is actually in the trailer, and he looks like fucking Davos from Game of Thrones because he's rocking the same type of beard that his character rocked, just more white, right? And so the gray, it's very interesting looking. Yeah, definitely check that out if you come across it. So, anyways.
Try to see what the movie's called. But.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we'll see you guys next time for episode 10 with Kyle, our returning guest, The Children, episode 10, the season finale, episode 4. See you then.
Nice.
Later.
See you then. Peace out, guys. Later.